So we're going to get going with our first film here. We're going to talk about Bird's Kingdom with director Alson Zhao. Congratulations on your nomination for Best Animated Film. Well deserved. The film was really complex, really creative, and impressive. I read somewhere that you took a lot of inspiration from your hometown, cultures and stories from that. Can you talk about those personal influences?
In my hometown, when people talking about art, especially painting, we're still stuck in the impressionism area. Like that's how we understand what painting are. We people don't like modernism, especially like nowadays contemporary art. We don't like that. we stuck at the impressionism. So I think that really influenced me of how I went to America to study and starting to know contemporary art. And it was a shock at the beginning. And slowly I started to understand the concept, the logic behind how the art history involved.
Interesting. And with some of that art, the tile art, when you're talking about the bird's eyes and the human's eyes, can you talk about, is that something that you found before making the film, or where did that tile art come from?
It was about Chagall's painting, and Mark Chagall's painting. Um, I think I only understand Mark Chagall's painting after I starting to date this current girlfriend I have. So as I was explaining to her about Mark Chagall's, I was like, oh, look, like the way Mark Chagall paintings, he paint humans' eyes and bird's eyes in exactly the same way. Yeah, that's the discovery at that point. So I put that in the film.
And that's mentioned too in the poem. Can you talk about the origin of the poem that is so prevalent in the film?
You mean the poem I wrote
Yes,
for the
yeah.
film? Bird and Moon is like one of my practice in poetry. It started with uh, my idea of working with text and image. So it was one night I find the way the moon moving in the camera, it feels like a bird moving. So I was thinking about how we write with lines and drawing with lines, and its text and image, how it's so similar, just like moon and bird. I had a first very short film in 2 minutes, and this is the second one, developing from the first film.
Fascinating. Wow. Okay, that's really cool stuff. So what would you say between that first film and then this one? What was the biggest difference or challenge in like making this film versus your original one?
So the original one was it was just my phone and the screen recording. This one is more professional, I would say. I work with 60 millimeter film and screen recording.
Mm.
So this film is more about it's more like a conversation of that. But that the Chinese character bird uh, happening in the film, I did it with a cut out frame. It's a material. Yeah, it's just a cardboard. That's also a point.
Yes, that was really cool. Like watching like, all these different lenses, that was really interesting to see and all the different shapes. The film without sound, can you talk about how you still told a story without necessarily having like music or other elements like that?
I wish to have sound at the very beginning. The person who was supposed to do sound for me, he was in Myanmar, and the revolution happened in their country. So he's like, I'm going to join my Marxist group and start a riot. So goodbye. I talked to different people about having sound for that film, and slowly I find maybe this film doesn't need sound because it's characters after characters. Maybe people can gain like a reading experience instead of like a watching experience from this film in a silent way. So I was like, okay, then just no sound.
What have you learned about yourself through the making of your film?
I think more of like how I can connect things I learn into one piece, like printmaking, filmmaking, fabric study, poetry. Like I combine all of this field into this one film.